which for some of us, that's using a gimbal and walking through the house. Others, it might be hiring one of the 3D immersive to come in and do a Matterport video and a dollhouse 3D imaging of the house to give people perspective what it looks like from the inside, from home. Use your personal judgment, your professional judgment, sorry. So what they're really saying there is you guys have to make a decision on whether this is the ideal location for an open house. And if I know there's a practice at times for some agents to determine market value and then collaborate with the seller to list the property perhaps $100,000 below that value to generate as much buzz and interest as you can. And you've all seen that that'll attract an upwards of 70 people in an open house environment, which of course that's poor professional judgment. And the overall, we'll talk about what the overall aim behind this protocol is in a moment, but we want to watch out for that. You want to make sure you're using your judgment wisely. You want to anticipate and respond to community concerns. So what they're really concerned about is a repeat of 2016 with shadow flipping. What they're trying to avoid and to guide us to do is to basically using professional judgment, determining a proper protocol for your open house to prevent someone from the public or a neighbor or someone living in a building contacting the news media when they see there's 30 people standing out in front of a house. And then of course, attracting all kinds of negative attention towards realtors. It's very important that we keep our image in as best a light as possible, but mostly what we want to show the public is that we are concerned during this time and that we're using the absolute best and most current protocols suggested to us by BC Health Authority and WorkSafe BC. Naturally, the real issue is limiting attendance and managing consumer expectations. So there's a detailed bullet point form on this item in your protocol checklist to take a look at. You really are, I would say, if you're going to conduct an open house, you might be wise to have a secondary person sit with you on that open house, maybe even a third, depending on how many people you think you would expect to show up. So you're going to want someone that's basically either keeping people in their cars or they're lining up on the street in 6-foot distances that you would have already taped out or mapped out. You're really going to want to actually use as a value proposition. The cool thing about this is you can take this document and then create your own protocol. When you go to a listing presentation, you're able to say to a seller with total confidence, I've got a plan and this plan is solid and this is what we're going to do. And that of course rolls into your informed conversation about, do you even want to do this? Do we want to go through this process or do we want to try a different way? Planning in advance, of course, that's all part of this. If you have your plan in advance. Keeping safety in mind is the utmost importance. And of course, safety in mind would also perhaps include that you're going to provide masks. You will likely provide hand sanitizer. And when people are coming through the home, you may choose to spray down areas that may have been touched, which would be smart. Of course, you'll also just map out, make sure that if there's 30 people in front of your house, or even if there's 10, not all 10 are standing inside the house like a typical open house. You also need to create a plan around, they want us to create a plan around multi-tenanted properties. So condos and not so much townhouses, but condos. Townhouses to the degree of parking and condos to the degree that people are coming through a front lobby and going up an elevator and down an elevator and in the hallways. For the most part, one of their suggestions on the last page is close and lock the doors at the end of the showings so that when people are in, you've already locked the door and there's no chance of someone else coming in. Where agreed upon in advance, leave the lights on and interior doors all open so we know about this. So the big one there is, if you're a buyer's agent, will the seller's agent be present or will the
He has disappeared. We'll see if he comes back momentarily.
Joshy!
It's that kind of week.
Oof.
His internet goes out on his computer, I think, is what happens. Joshy? All right then.
Okay, I'll go forward then for now until he returns.
I'll text him.
Obviously the realtors in our office are important to us, but really this rethink of the open house idea is all about the clients. If they have underlying health conditions, we should not even be considering open houses. I think you should be seriously sitting down with them, communicating the protocols you'll be following to keep everybody safe, and agree how you're going to continue to sanitize the property, between showings in an open and when they are going to return going forward. Kind of just jumping off the open house topic for a minute, I'm increasingly becoming concerned that a lot of realtors, not our realtors, but other realtors, especially when there's long distance travel involved, are going back to their old ways. And I've talked about this before. They're attempting to book showings. They have no intention of showing up. They're asking for one-day codes. Even now with showings, when I know they have to travel a long distance, I'm asking them, have your clients driven by the property? Have your clients looked at the property from the rear if possible? Have they gone over the pictures? Have they reviewed the attached documents? Have they read the disclosure statement? Before they're planning on booking that showing. And I asked the proverbial question, are you actually coming in person? Are you actually going to attend the viewing? So if I'm not there, I'm certain that that the other realtor will be there. Yeah, have they read the Paragon listings? I like that, Jane. It's amazing how many realtors book a showing and don't read the private realtor remarks, which is kind of crazy because, there could be things in there that right away aren't going to suit their clients and they can move on. I had one yesterday where they were trying to book a showing on a North Delta property, and upon review of everything, she said, well, they're not interested now. So we haven't had Josh return. I thought that there isn't much on the COVID side of the BC government side in relation to real estate. And right now, even on the WorkSafe BC, but there's a great section on there in relation to home inspections. They talk about informing all parties involved that COVID-19 inspection guidelines will be used to communicate those guidelines to prevent issues on the day of inspection. So very much like open houses, pre-screening, conduct a home inspection or open house. You want to limit the number of people coming through the property. You don't want 6, 8, or 10 people in your client's house at once. We talk about providing gloves and masks if possible, and what you're going to do with those at the end of every showing going forward. And then I think Josh said it earlier, use your professional judgment when it comes to open houses. Has he returned yet? Nope.
He's not coming back. He's got to go to the hospital for his surgery, and his computer bit a big one, so he doesn't have time to fix it.
Okay.
So he said, run with it.
He what?
He said, run with it.
Run with that. Okay. Yeah, I knew he was leaving at 11:30, but I didn't know he was leaving at 11:10.
Well, no, because by the time his computer gets up and running, he thinks he's going to. So he said, go ahead.
In that document that everyone received this morning, they talked about making sure that we're getting screening involved, like qualifying consumers. Have they listed or sold their current home? Are they working with a realtor? Are they pre-qualified for financing? Have already viewed the property online through, like I talked about earlier, through videos, 3D renderings, etc., pictures. Have they already viewed the neighborhood? Because we want to make sure that ultimately our customers and our clients are safe going forward. review the MLS listing details, photos in full, review any floor plans, drive by and be familiar with the physical location of the property. Ensure they're going over, ensure they are pre-qualified. It would be nice if realtors are going to send their clients that they bring their own personal protective equipment. And then review the open house safety procedures as provided by the open house host. It's going to be pretty hard, as Josh said earlier, to be able to probably do those as a one-man team. I think we're going to have probably 2 people to control. If you do get large volumes of people, it'd probably be, at the very least, to have somebody outside and have someone actually in the home being able to control the flow of the people that are inside. Maybe you'll have a rule that they're not to touch anything, or some people tell you to keep your hands in your pockets, and if they want anything open, that you'll do it for them. Obviously, the person outside can control that everyone is social distancing, that they're staying 6 feet away. Maybe going over some pre-screening. Hopefully they're bringing their realtors with them, which I'm sure in most cases they won't be, as usual. Condos are problematic because you've got elevators, you've got lobbies, you've got front doors that are used not only by the people that are showing up for the open house, but also by people that live in the building and people visiting the building. So those are things we have to be careful about. Is there anyone got any questions out there at this point? Oh, you're talking about contact tracing. Yeah, good point, Jane. We should be recording the names and phone numbers of people that are coming through our open houses. If we end up with a situation where someone does come down with COVID-19, then it's going to be our duty to let everybody know who was there that day that someone did test positive. Mark, what was that comment you made?
What if you can't get a second person to help you with an open house? How do you control the outside? Is putting up a sign and maybe putting like little paint marks on the grass that are 2-3 meters apart acceptable?
Yeah, I think as long as it looks like we're in control. The last thing we want is, with all the video and cell phones and things that are out there, the public to send in a video to one of the news outlets and it looks like a U.S. bar party or something. That's the last thing I think we need at this point in time. Anyone else got anything to go forward with that? Any other questions right now? How to deal with tenanted properties, especially with eviction issues. Okay. So we talked about that, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, that the government now has changed, has relaxed, I guess you say not changed, they've relaxed the rules on tenancy related issues, and they now are allowing notice to be served to tenants for sale of properties. If you have a tenant in place, there still is a moratorium on evictions for any other reason, possibly. I mean, there are some of a serious nature. Well, they'll consider, but you can't, for example, be evicted for non-payment of rent right now, and that's also in the commercial end too. The BC government has extended the commercial real estate for another month, and that was effective just the other day. So both are in line, and tenants don't have to allow open houses. They don't have to allow viewings right now. There's no way to force them to allow them. You can ask, and if you convince them that you've got safety protocols in place and they are in agreement to allow it, then fine. But if they refuse, there's really nothing at this point that you can do. Anything further on the tenant issue? What do we got going on there? Yeah, as I mentioned earlier about the tenant issue, if you receive an offer, like I said, you can go forward with the clause in the offer that if the seller receives the appropriate notice, that notice can be served to the tenants. But you have to remember that's only in a month to month. If you've got a fixed term tenancy in place, regardless of whether there's a sale that takes place, the tenant cannot be served notice. I mean, their lease runs for the entire length of the lease that's in place, and will only expire when that date comes about. Any other questions about open houses or potentially doing open houses? Do you still there, Terry? There we go. Hey. Hold on. Did you have anything further you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. I put most of the open house stuff from BCREA and the board into the cafe group on Facebook. So
Okay.
It's there for reference as well as in the email that went out. And then it looks like the board is also holding, I'm just pulling it up on my screen. The board is doing a Zoom on understanding consumer and realtor safety and open house protocols this Friday. I put the link in the cafe group as well for that.
Is that in the Vancouver board?
Yes.
Yeah, because I haven't heard anything in relation to the Fraser Valley.
Not yet. This one literally just came out about a half hour ago, and I plopped it into the cafe group though. So.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen anything yet because we do have the three.
Yeah.
Well, there you are, right there.
It'll probably come from Fraser Valley shortly. They always follow suit.
Yeah, no doubt. But like I said, I think when Josh kind of abruptly left us, and I understand.
On purpose, his computer died.
No, I know. But some of the times when he's in the bullpen or in his office, for whatever reason, just kind of cuts out.
It's his computer.
I didn't catch that comment.
Sorry, it's Josh's computer. It's a little bit hokey.
No. Someone just typed a comment that I missed.
McNabbs are asking if they're allowed to advertise open houses.
Well, the boards now have allowed the open house feature. They've opened it back up on the MLS.
Okay.
For both boards.
Someone's asking about multiple offers, suggestions on dealing with multiples.
That comment was about, is it working right? I haven't checked it, but I understand that they've enabled that feature on the MLS again, the open house feature.
Yeah, I would report if it's not working.
The comment about multiple offers, what are they referring to?
I'm guessing with the amount, maybe if people are wanting to present in person, perhaps.
Yeah, I always fill out a presentation of offers for my clients, and unfortunately, nobody meets with my clients except myself.
Yeah.
Right. So that could deal with a potential possibility where you're not. Oh, see, it is working. The McNabb said right there. That would alleviate having to worry about multiple people showing up at your sellers' homes wanting to present their offers. So, it's all about keeping them safe. And if I've got a pair of 80-year-olds in my database that I have their home listed right now. And, the last thing we want is to put them at risk.
Of course.
you know, and so you're asking a lot of these sort of even pre-qualifying questions with other agents. Like I said earlier, like making sure that the realtors have reviewed all the info, that their clients have reviewed it all, that they've done the drive-bys, that they've done everything they can do, and then only booking the showings when they've absolutely ready to go forward to the next step. I mean, obviously our business has been going forward quite nicely with everything that's gone on, but we have to remember that this virus is not over. I mean, we don't potentially, I mean, you just have to look at places like Brazil and the United States, and even in the lower mainland, we still, I mean, I heard one this morning that there was someone that tested positive at McDonald's in Cloverdale.
Yeah, I heard that.
You heard that as well, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, so you never know where it could pop up, and so we really do have to be diligent, and it won't take much for the sort of the pool of public opinion to sway against us if we're not doing the right things.
Yeah.
So we really have to make sure that, you know, that we go over an agenda of how we're going to work with our clients with an open house, how it's going to go. And they, you know, they're going to have their input in there, and they're going to agree how it's going to work, and how we're going to make sure the home is safe for them to return at the end.
Absolutely. Does anybody ever have any, or does anybody have any additional questions? I've just texted with, I guess Ron is on a webinar right now, and Josh is off to the hospital for his surgery. So we're a little discombobulated today.
That we are.
I think we're doing okay though.
Yeah, Josh said I'll be there for 30 minutes. So I, you know, helped me along the way. So I didn't expect, like I said earlier, I didn't expect him to leave. But it's all fine. I mean, it's working out. Now you've Terry have taken the online portion of the ethics course, correct?
Yeah, I have. I take the in class, well, not in class, but the classroom part on Tuesday.
Oh, so I'm in the same one, the 14th.
15th is the one I'm on.
Oh, I'm on the 14th. I thought it was a great course, the online component.
I did. I absolutely.
A lot of reminders, a lot of stuff maybe that you knew once upon a time have kind of forgotten. I really liked the part where they were talking about conflicts of interest, disclosure. I thought that was huge. What should be done and the right way to do it.
And how to avoid putting yourself in situations. It can be so easy, but once you're in them, it's so hard to dig yourself out. So
absolutely.
I recommend taking that ethics course.
Yeah, and anybody that has to renew their license. I mean, I reviewed this, I think maybe 6-8 weeks ago. Anyone that has to renew their license after October 1st, 2020 has to have that course. So not only
it's important. It was great.
Yeah, no, I think there's some great stuff in there. It's not dry and boring. I think they're right. They said allow 5 to 7 hours.
Yes.
And it really did take that.
Well, I'm smarter than you, so it took me a little bit of a shorter time, but
well, you probably did it in half the time that I did. So
yeah, you're old, so that's okay, buddy.
You know, so it really did take that, and they've also changed the way the courses are kind of outlined. Not only is there small quizzes, but now they want you to type responses.
They want to make sure you're actually online and you're actually doing it, not just hitting next till you get to the question page.
Mm-hmm.
Like none of us have done before, I'm sure.
Absolutely not. You'll need coming up after October, you'll need the ethics course, you'll need the money laundering course. If you're after October, I think the first one with the new rules you would have already taken. You'll need of course, your legal update. And
update is booking a way far in advance right now. Just if you guys have a renewal coming up, we've had a few people go unlicensed recently because they've not had a chance to get in and get their courses, and especially with all the new mandatory stuff. Just get way ahead of the game so you don't have to worry about it.
And I think Sean had a comment there. I'm not aware that they've returned to in-class teaching. Everything's being done virtually right now.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
but they'll do an interactive webinar portion for half the class, and then the online, the online portion for the questions. Whoa, lots of questions coming up.
we released the link. I missed that.
Okay, no, it looks like that was taking care of that question.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
So everyone has to remember that your council requirements are one thing. So we talked about the 3: money laundering, legal update, and the ethics course after October.
Yep.
You'll need those 3. You then have your board membership that you have to maintain, which is completely separate. So you need 18 hours.
Yep.
With the board. And if by chance you come up...
Sorry, we do have some courses available on the calendar here. Some Zoom classes that are being taught that are allowing for credits as well. So keep an eye on the Elite calendar. And if you didn't get it for some reason, make sure you reach out to Carla and she'll get it to you. I think we have 6 PDP points available in July between some courses that are being done.
Yeah, you can do your 6. I think they're calling it hours now, unfortunately.
Oh, hours, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no. You can do all your 6 hours through KW, which makes that portion really easy because they'll allow that now. And then you're only got 12 hours that you'll have to complete through a board-sponsored course. Mm-hmm. If by chance you run to your license expiry, you do your courses as required by the council, and you don't have your 18 hours with the board, I think they give you 14 days to fulfill that obligation, right?
There's a fee extension you can apply for, but we don't like to tell people that, or they'll use it, Michael.
Yes, I know they will. I know you get 14 days, but I don't know if there's a chance beyond that. I like I said, I don't, like Terry said, I don't think that we'd want to see if they will grant you an extension beyond that time frame. No.
There's just no point. And honestly, even whether or not you're due for the required courses that are going to become required after after October, you want to be taking them anyway. There's good information there. It's a good reminder. It's good to go into your listing appointments and your buyer appointments and tell them about all the education you've been keeping up with to stay professional. It's a win-win no matter what. So get smart.
Yeah, I mean, there has been so many changes over the last couple of years.
Yeah,
and I think more to come. With the fact that they're amalgamating.
Yeah.
The superintendent's office, and so we don't know what this new governing body might decide.
Yeah.
That we're going to need to do.
Absolutely.
So ongoing. I mean, and I know there was a big uproar. I don't know how many years. Additional education has been around. I can't remember when it started. I am really old and my memory's fading. So
it's true. It's true. I feel for you, buddy.
Yeah. But there was a lot of griping in the beginning that professional development was that it was bad and they didn't want to do it. And lots of griping and complaining. But I think, especially the way it's being done now, it's only enhancing our professionalism.
Well, absolutely. And quite honestly, everybody who could get a license got one at some point. So it's good to flush out the people who are serious and want to be here and learning and doing more for their clients. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yep. Makes our job easier as managing brokers, because if you're out there being professionals and staying up to date, then it doesn't put your license at risk, and it certainly doesn't put the brokerage license at risk. So win. Yeah.
I know I went through a situation yesterday with one of our agents in the office. I guess they booked an additional showing after, I can't remember which point they were at. I think it was after acceptance.
It was after acceptance. There was a subject that, or not a subject, but a condition that the buyers could come back in with a trade and one family member, I think. And then they brought in 12 people.
Yeah.
They
bought in 12 people.
Yeah.
put the seller into an absolute panic, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on you how you want to structure your business. But for me, if I'm the listing agent and the buyer's agent has an accepted offer and the seller's allowing a home inspection, I'm thinking now, COVID-wise going forward, even before, I always showed up. Not for the entire time. I showed up to see who was going to be there. And then I would obviously go over the questions. Well, are the clients arriving? And if so, and now, of course, more important is to find out how many people are showing up.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah. And part of that condition was that the buyer's agent be there. It was actually written in that the buyer's agent had to be there, and they weren't there.
No. And I told our agent a couple of stories in my life, in my experience. And I don't think there's rarely ever an excuse for us not to do our jobs. And if you can't be there, I'm sure if you scramble and phone the office and say, hey, this, whatever has happened and I need to be there and I can't be there, I'm pretty sure that we can find somebody who can go in your place.
Mm-hmm.
What was that, Terry?
There's always help, and so we've got to.
There's always help. I mean, there's no excuse to
choose from here. So lots of people you can rely on and help out.
Absolutely. I mean, so don't feel that you're alone that way. That you can always reach out. We are a huge group.
Yep.
And there's always someone out there who will be able to help you out in a pinch, right? So I understand that this situation was something to do with a life-ending situation with the buyer's agent. A family member, from what I understand.
It just wasn't communicated to our.
It was later on. You probably didn't know as this went forward that this was communicated, but even in those circumstances, I have two personal experiences that, it didn't change my mindset, that I still had to fulfill my obligation to my clients.
Yeah.
So whatever I had to do, if I couldn't be present or we had to make other arrangements, we made it work.
Yeah.
We didn't leave the clients hanging high and dry.
And Jane makes a good point as well, that when you're on vacation, I mean, it's under your, you have to give your business over to somebody, and the brokerage has to be able to reach you. In case something comes up. So make sure that you're treating your business professionally and that you hand it over professionally and you inform anybody you're working with, who to talk to, what's going on, when you'll be back. Tell us, the brokerage, what you're doing so that we can ask, are we forwarding calls? Like, what are we doing with the answering service? All that kind of stuff. We need to be informed. We've got a situation right now where the Fraser Valley Board has reached out to us because one of our people is not returning calls or emails, and they have one last opportunity to take their license or the class to be fully licensed, and the cell number's been canceled, the email is bouncing back, and their Facebook account is closed. We can't even find them. It's so unprofessional.
Yeah, that's scary.
So I know things can happen. There's always something that can happen. Emergencies happen. We understand. Just reach out and communicate so that we can jump on board and help, and help and cover you. But you leave our hands tied when you disappear.
Even if you're going up to the interior for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, I mean, you can take your calls quite easily. But if you still need to make arrangements with somebody, if something needs to happen, that they'll be able to fulfill that obligation for you, and you can talk about remuneration to them at that point. And so that everybody's comfortable with it.
Yeah,
and
trade time, or there's lots of different ways to do it. But
absolutely, but you can't just leave.
No, council doesn't
like leave your business and just disappear. I mean, I've in the past, not with KW, but realtors that just left for China.
Yeah,
another one went to Thailand and couldn't reach him.
Yeah.
because they didn't have anything when they left, supposedly, right? But you never know what's going to come out of the cracks, right?
Well, and there can be stuff that comes up from a deal that's already been in the works or completed or firm but hasn't completed yet. And if you're not in town and you assume that just because you don't have anybody current, that nothing's going to happen, that's not necessarily the case. You need to know somebody's got a hold of your actual files and access to your files who can jump in and help if there's a situation that comes up on something like that.
Absolutely.
Just because it's firm doesn't mean it's not going to have any issues, right?
No, there seems to always be issues. There's always things that happen, right?
Yes. Does anybody have any additional questions? Because apparently Michael and I get to wrap things up when people are not having questions. And Michael, do you have anything else? I kind of jumped in and started being your co-host today.
No, that kind of worked well, actually. I appreciate that. It kind of, it tagged off well.
Okay,
I thought it went really well that way because, it was kind of, it was just kind of sudden that he was gone, right? And I understand that toe needs to be fixed, right?
Yes, I told him. I got a hold of him on his backup phone and told him about that. So once he's done his surgery, he'll work on it.
There we go. Okay, if there's no more questions.
So hard, they've said they might not actually do the surgery because he hasn't been resting it. So there might be too much swelling to actually go in.
Oh, really?
So we'll see how all that goes for Joshy. If anybody, Josh loves attention, folks, like you don't know it. So go online, grab a phone, send him a love message. That'll fill his bucket right up.
Okay.
And thank you, everybody. It looks like we don't have any questions. Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Aman, for doing your whatever you do there in the tech land. Oh, we have one more question. Oh, no, thank you. Thank you. And everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye.